Hello, we're the Interprofessional Studio, the Master of Arts and Master of Fine Arts in Spatial Performance and Design. I'm Theo Lawrence, the director of the course, and with me today is Hila, Soraya and Agiris, 3 generations of the program, and we're going to introduce a little bit what we're doing and have been done over the last 10 years. We are a course that is formed on the basis of the creative history of the school. People who came from the A have always formed different kinds of fields within the creative disciplines. So not only working in architecture, but actually formed completely new genres in the interception of the different. For example, Mark Fisher, who invented the rock stage, Ron Arad as a product designer, but as well Bernard Schumi, or even like somebody like Thomas Hardy as a writer, studied at the A, but actually formed completely different fields of work. On this basis, we formed the course 10 years ago, 2008, with an EU project, and from there on led to now more than 30 different projects across the globe. What we try to do is bring people from different disciplines together and work outside everyone's comfort zone and create genre-defying projects that overlap the different disciplines. All the projects we do are applied, and we're going to explain that a bit more as well with the examples of the student work. But mainly we're a course that invites people to come and study together in the creative fields that don't actually have to be from architecture. They see themselves more at home in more than one discipline. So most of our students are architects and something else, or performers and something else. We call all of us slash people in a way. So for example, myself, I'm an architect slash painter slash media designer. And it's pretty much true for everybody on the team. So you don't have to have an architectural degree to join us. You can come if you have actually the inspiration and a bachelor in any kind of creative field or creative attitude towards the field we come from. So we had jewelry designers, psychologists, philosophers, you name it, and bringing together really quite new individual projects. We're working as interprofessional, not interdisciplinary, meaning that you actually work outside of your comfort zone. You become a teacher for your profession, but actually bring the disciplines to the others. The course is applied, and what we want to do is form networks that actually become delivered in a professional level. So this is true for both parts of the school, of the MA and the MFA. The projects are always delivered as applied projects. To do the fundraising for it, you have to do the choreography design, you have to write the music. So you actually cannot just concentrate on your own profession. You have to collaborate with professionals from all the different fields in order to get your own knowledge forward. In the end, what we do, it's a boot camp for networking. What the students should come out with is independent networks that actually can form their individual careers. I think this is true as well for all the different tutors on the course. Here we have the network from all of us who teach on the highest these different disciplines. It's myself as an architect and painter, Tanya as an urban designer, Andrew Dean, music and production. He produced bands like Texas, Discovered Just Stones, and has a couple of Grammys to his name. David McAlmon, probably the best voice you will ever hear and have ever heard, if you have heard him, but as well an art historian, and this kind of bridging between those two disciplines makes him very unique. Somebody like Mauricio Paoli as a composer and sonologist, Reino Weiss as a choreographer, Marco Zalda-Dijon as well as a choreographer and production expert for things, Heiko Kallenbach and Joel Newman, who's actually standing right here in front of us. And so this team is leading you into all this kind of fields of how you deliver these 2 different programs, the MA and the MFA. most of the first year is running in parallel. So both of the programs are applied programs where you base your work on things you actually have to do yourself. We have two main events, one London-based one, because most of you are not from London, and one international one, usually within Europe or across the world, which have to be delivered. Within this delivery, you bring, as a teamwork, everything forward together. At some point then, the MA is going to bring the work forward into an academic kind of research. For us, it was really important to do this as a kind of one arm of the course, because otherwise there's no reflection on the work, and actually how can it develop into something that would become the theoretical base and a very kind of important research for the next generation of students of the course, but obviously as well the individual who is doing the MA, and Hila is going to talk about that a bit. The MFA is more directed at something if you want to set up your professional practice and actually want to create right away your production company, your network and things like that. This can go in very different directions, and our alumni work in all these different directions, from stage design to theatre companies, choreography companies and so on and so forth. This is developing for both together in this certain way. We have 4 terms for the MA and 5 terms for the MFA. One is running over a year and one over 18 months. So the first term is dedicated at skilling. That's what you're going to see as well when Hila is presenting. And then the second and third term are dedicated to the 2 different applied projects. And then the 4th and 5th term are for the delivery of the individual thesis, setting up your own career. And I hand on to Hila now, who joined us in October, and she's going to talk about her experience so far and her decision to come to us.
Thank you, Theo. I'm glad to see you here. So my decision to come to the program of the AAIS was actually based on my multidisciplinary nature of my work previous to my studies at the AA, and my will to move beyond the formal conventions of architecture, which enable me to reach some kind of certain elusive accuracy that I strive for in my work as an architect. So I introduced writing and film to become a stage to perform and express my identity as a creative person. Therefore, the choice of exploring furthermore other remote and overlapping disciplines was my main interest in coming to the AAIS and eventually choosing this specific program. Professionally, I was aiming to explore other means of expression, which will enrich my perspective and widen my ability to think and create in so-called open fields that are now, they were unfamiliar to me, but now they are offered me by the AAIS program, such as sound, movement, and dance. Also contributing to that is the very creative climate of the AA as an architect school. But it wasn't only the professional collaborations that enriches me in the AIS. The studio that I work in is very fortunately for me an intimate and diverse collective of very inspirational creators that contribute to our making as a group, but also foster their individual growth. So such individual exploration started off the year where Theo and Tanya presented us with a box to introduce us our identity as a creator and thinker under the title The Art of Resistance, which is this year's theme in the AIS. So Tom Park, Mona Kamil, Noah Segev, Lumia Shong and I all created very prominent work and manipulated the artifact of the box to show our background and interest in architecture, physics, philosophy, dance, movement, writing, spatial design, and performance. From there, we started the workshops together in collaborations within the group with the professional teachers. So the first one was the sound workshop with Andrew Dean that Theo mentioned before. We created an audio guide that explored and redefined the familiar space of the AA building and choreographed a soundscape. We implanted our individual experience of the space. We made statements about art, gender inequality and discrimination, the vague experience between nature and man-made. It was a welcoming journey, an audio guide that took our visitors through the building as a source of wonder. It was very directed prominently, but then again gave a lot of freedom and construct the most liberating structure, if that makes sense. This, we believe, created the critical image we strive for at the AAIS. And to take a space, an architecture, and challenge it with a progression of an evolution of a nomadic, anonymous space to becoming a site-specific one. The second workshop was a film and projection one with Haiku Kalambach. And we were experimenting and establishing a film language, exploring the body in space through an individual lens. And for the final review in this case, we actually chose to curate a path-like film installation from our own individual films. This was an act to perform and occupy architecture in a familiar setting, yet narrating space in a different structure such as body, space, and thought. And I would just finish off by saying that we are looking forward to our collaboration in Logroño in the next spring under the vivid greenery of Rioja, where we will be taking part in Concentrico Festival. With that said, come take a journey with the AAIS and expect the unexpected. Thank you. And I'll pass the talk to my colleague, Soraya, second phase.
Thank you. So I'm gonna talk about last year for a bit. So last year, how we did it, we formed an artist collective group under the interdisciplinary studio named OA. And the group defined itself as 5 outsiders in London exploring the possibilities of truth and trust outside their cultures. We had several shows and performances that were presented in London and Spain with collaborations with professionals like New Movement, David McCalman, and Robin Hunt. All the performances revolved around defining the notions of truth, trust, and integrity. For this year, in March 2008, we will have 3 independent shows that will represent our MFAs. 2 of us will be collaborating on one project, while 2 of the group members will have solo exhibitions around London. Last year, we had 2 main shows under the title "To Be Honest," and it was presented as a series of events. We had different concepts of investigations that we were determined to implement. First of all was to achieve a successful collaboration between the multiple fields of design and art, to investigate the audience participation in any performance we present, to achieve a spatial configuration that suggests the concept of viewing of multiple perspectives. We also wanted to challenge the idea of delivering a performance in a black box, so we tried to implement the performance in an exhibition space. So I'm going to talk about, first in Girona, we had our last performance, which was a collaboration with Las Heras and Will Alsop Architecture Studio. And in that Girona was a continuation of the To Be Honest festival that was presented in London in March 2017, and Girona was in July 2017. It was a 2-day event where we presented a documentation workshop and a performance called Hidden Silence. In the documentation workshop, students from Barcelona were invited to participate, and it was addressing the notion of how to document, make a trailer, and work with performers while preparing for the performance. The Hidden Silence was a performance that invited the audience to reimagine how a story is been told. The piece questioned what has been experienced, the valid and the forgotten, and the narrative and the memory. Audience were invited to roam around the space and discover the space and the performance while the performance is happening. Then I'll move to London, where it was a performance or a festival, a 7-day festival in collaboration with Doodle Bar in London that questioned the notions of truth, trust, integrity in a world that lacked transparency and authenticity. Through a series of artistic collaboration, the festival presented itself as a commentary on the manufactured truth of daily experience. We had a festival that was composed of permanent exhibition under the title called Inside Out, a choreographic performance, The Raw Silence, which questioned the idea of rituals as part of seeking truth, the meaning of truth, and a talk called Alternative Facts in collaboration with Robin Hunt, who's a journalist, and David McCalman. Finally, I would like to talk about our MFA research. So now we are in the process of developing our own projects, and MFA, this part of this whole year is where we start building our networks of collaborators in order to present shows in London. This is one thing, and this is where we try to find funding for our projects, expand in London, try to build our own concepts, and also we define this as our beginning of our career path, because we will enjoy working in the media we like. We chose our own topics, and we're building our team basically. And then I would like to move to Argy.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live feed from the AA. My name is Argyris Angeli, and I'm an alumni from the AAS program. I graduated last March with a Master of Fine Arts. And I would like to just discuss how the transition from being a student at the AAIS continued on to our now professional career. So we used the course as the step, just as Thuraya was saying, to reach out to people that we would like to work with, and we expanded our network of collaborators, which led to really strong partnerships. It was a really happy fact that during the course I've met Kyriaki Nasiula, who is now watching us, and she is my partner in crime. And this is a great example of how we took a project that we developed in the Architectural Association Interprofessional Studio, which was called XYZS, and it was presented at Waterman's Art Center as our first London project. And then we applied with it to the UK Our Young Artists Festivals, and we basically co-produced the event that went really well, and it was a great success with a full house. From then on, we felt really confident with directing, managing, and coordinating large-scale projects in a variety of different contexts and settings, such as the Whitechapel window space, which you will see later. Kyriaki and I founded Gesamtatelier, which is a platform by and for practitioners and educators from several creative fields who collaborate towards the conception and realization of interdisciplinary projects. Our team aspires to overlap the boundaries of several domains, mediums, and genres: dance, design, performance art, sound composition, curating, architecture, and the visual arts. We aim to keep an open, dynamic structure which adapts to the nature of each project, performances, exhibitions, installations, publications, etc. And the creators involved for every scheme intertwine our diverse backgrounds, theoretical and practical skills, creating hybrids between our respective practices and trying to find still a home. So this is what you're watching now is a project that we, Kirkeki and I, with our team, Gesamt Atelier, in co-production with the Architectural Association Interprofessional Studio, presented last year at Mihail's Dance Theatre in Roehampton University as part of our MFA thesis, which involved a theoretical research on psychology and specifically on Lacan's mirror stage, and was applied in a live performance, which was intermedia and interdisciplinary. It was around that time that we realized that we have developed our own signature methodology for creative design process of collective projects, which aims to identify, activate, and empower several potentials. It was composed of brainstorming sessions, art studio experimentations, as well as a unique combination of workshopping and rehearsing techniques based on structured improvisation, scoring, and testing. So coming out from the program, we really feel confident in being methodical, developing our own strategies and carving an own career path. We think in multiple levels and be able to adapt in different professional languages, as well as having experience in so many different creative fields is a very attractive advantage, especially nowadays when the ground is fertile for interdisciplinarity. Learn to approach the right people, be versatile, be adaptive, effective, and to the point. The theoretical research that we have conducted during the course is now advancing through our positions as academics and lecturers in higher education. So you can see over here parts of like our rehearsals with the prototypes for a performative costume that I've designed. And that's Yoriya Degu, one of our collaborators. She's a dancer and choreographer. And also one of the sessions that we had for recording sounds for the sound composer as I was performing live projections. We now also deliver workshops in other organizations and institutions. This was again in Roehampton University. And for the future, our goal is to look for opportunities to travel our projects, being in conversation with organizations and institutions to support our practice. These are images from our most current project, which was Anosis. It was presented at the Truman Brewery, Juju Bar and Stage. And we are now quite excited to be returning back to the AA to present and host a workshop for the Open Week in February. So we'll love to see you there.
Yeah, that's 4 generations talking in a way. And I think this is one of the big advantages of this course as well. There's a real overlap of generations and of a kind of conversations going on from different experiences as well, because it's absolutely about networking and keeping these networks on forever. There are different networks which kind of start building on top of each other, and I think this is already started here. I mean, this is not organized in a big way. These people of 3 generations know each other and learn from one another and talk constantly to another, because actually they share their experiences and the different phases so intricate with one another that actually a constant learning even from the first generation to the third one is in either direction works constantly on. And I think this is one of the interesting things as well, which goes already to some of the questions we were handed, is what are people doing afterwards? And I think it's kind of, this is the boot camp for setting up your company. But it's not in this kind of old-fashioned way that it's like you're by yourself and you can do things as a one-star a priori architect. You have to have networks, and these networks need to be dynamic, and this is what everybody is doing right from the beginning. And this is happening within the first term, and I think it's already in the blood of people just arriving in October. And it's literally part of the way of working of the entire team, from the musicians to the dancers. Everybody sets up in a way that it's a constant network, which is for us as well as for the students constantly expanding. Since we have done the new division of MAs and MFAs, this has accelerated enormously because of the overlap of the different students and because of the different outlooks as well. I mean, I think there's the academic edge to the MA, where you have the possibility of going deeper into research, into a field which otherwise might be just always staying on the applied level, is so helpful for the rest of the studio, because there is a different kind of feedback and a different kind of pathway that leads much clearer into academia, but is based on applied work as well. Most MAs are still hypothetical and refer to theory, which is maybe far moved. Here it is actually based on experience and exchange with people who take a different pathway. Same with the MFA. You're not like in a different MFA program maybe where you sit and do your own kind of projects and are a sole fighter. You have to build a network around yourself and actually start your career. Within the creative field, this is actually very rare, surprisingly, because everybody thinks they're networking, but they're not. And so this is a real economic advantage of knowing how to link yourself. That's why everybody has to do as well all this different parts of an organization and all the different kind of little difficulties one doesn't want to think about in creativity, but this keeps your back free, and this is what makes projects possible. So yeah, throughout the course you're going to learn a lot of kind of hardcore details of how to set up things, how to deliver them, and actually there's no way out because those are live projects, right? Like right now. And, so you'd have to deliver. You stand in front of 1,000 people who want to see a product, and so you can't just delay by another minute. So there were other questions as well in who can apply. I think we answered that during the talk before. But as well, I think I want to lead that on as well in a way, why did you apply? And I think that could be quite nice, like the transition of just seeing what the studio is doing and actually doing it. I think is for most people quite revelation.
I think it's a very unique program. As you mentioned, the ability to choose between an MA, a professional MA, and an MFA is rather not only rare in academia, but also enables us to meet people that the source of interest is so wide that you benefit from it in your final program or project, and being a written one or art venue or a sculpture, this is all very up to you, and you kind of feel like a grown-up in this program where you choose your path.
Exactly.
And you have time to also introduce yourself to other disciplines. So this is kind of like a structure, platform that you can increase or grow in with your with what you come from before. So not only what you have achieved so far, but further going.
Also, I really felt that the program embraces this urge to remain in between fields and not define yourself as just one, having one label. It is true, we all have slashes. Mine are artist, architect, and educator. And when I introduce myself, is like, and people ask questions like, so what is it that you do exactly? The response is I've studied to be versatile. I've studied to be able to combine different fields together. I don't think many people can do that as effectively and as productively as we do, because this is what we spent 2 years of our lives doing, and even more than that.
I think it's the exposure that the program gives it to the student in here. It's just like it places you out of the comfort zone in a way that you need to adapt to every single thing. You need to learn every single media in order to at least be able to engage in a discussion, even if you don't perfect it. So you feel like you're hands-on on things, and you can really talk with all people equally and have a equality and a collaboration, rather just being in a specified form, like in a specified major or domain. And this is where you become a more powerful negotiator, let's say, or a collaborator in an artwork. And I mean, this is great, because for me now as an MFA, I can actually collaborate or choose my collaborators wisely and know what I want from each one of them, how much they should put in my project and how much I want to participate or pitch in. So this is this is very important.
Yeah. And to close on that, like what we really are on about is constant exchange and communication. So start that now. I mean, by all means, you can come to London and talk to us directly, or we're happy to Skype with you. I think each of them had a long conversation with me before, a year or longer before, and I think, and as well the other tutors. Everybody is open and accessible. This is our business, like talking to people and exchange ideas. So if you have questions, do not hesitate to contact our wonderful graduate admissions department. They will put you directly in contact with whoever you want to talk with from our team, or even alumni and students. So, and we're all happy to exchange.
Yeah, and check out the websites,
Yes.
there's social media, there's updates all the time from all of us.
Exactly. The network continues
Yes,
on.
us, like, befriends us on Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.